this is going to sound weird, but ghosts are real. I know, right? Actually, that's kind of a calming thought if you want to know if there's an afterlife. Well, I'm assuming it's an afterlife and not just a glitch in the matrix, an energy recreating itself. I don't think it's that, because I've seen too many ghosts too many times. And a really good story I have that I'm going to share with you is about this one evening. I'm laying in bed, I'm asleep, and I got punched in the arm, like seriously punched in the arm. And I start to wake up and I get punched again. Now, at this particular moment, I don't know what's going on. I mean, it could have been my husband, because it couldn't have been my children, because this was a grown-up hand with a grown-up punch to it, force. And I wake up and I'm looking and trying to figure out what's going on. And there's this man standing over my bed, and he's kind of like a Fred Astaire type person. And he's wearing not ancient, old-timey railroad garb or a uniform. And I recognize it because my grandpa used to work for the railroad. But it's not my grandpa, because my grandpa was kind of bulky and burly, heavier, like not heavy. He wasn't, heavy, but just bulkier. And this guy was thin. And he punches me twice, and I'm like, WTF? And he asks me, are you going to work? I mean, he's not happy with me. And I said, what? Yeah, I'm trying to figure things out. And he's like, are you going to work? Gosh, like, why are you mad at me? I don't even know you. And I'm trying to, my systems are coming on board or coming online, and I'm trying to figure things out. And I'm realizing it's got to be like a Friday or Saturday night, not a weekday. I don't have to go to work. And I'm like, no. I mean, is that the wrong answer? I mean, what do you want me to say, buddy? And he's visibly upset, and he storms off around the bed. Now, remember, he's not an apparition. He's not floating. He literally walks around the bed and storms off into the bathroom. Well, in this particular instance, for one, I'm able to quickly react, and I threw off my covers and I jumped out of bed and I chase after him. And the whole time I'm thinking, what do you expect to find? He's going to be in the bathroom. Are you going to get into fisticuffs with this guy? Because he had a solid punch and I'm not that person. Or is he peeing? Did he have to pee? Is that why he's in the bathroom? I don't know. Well, anyway, he wasn't there, needless to say, much to my chagrin or whatever, happiness. But the next day I called up my neighbor down at the end of the block, and I'm like, you won't believe what happened. This guy in railroad garb just shows up in my bedroom in the middle of the night and punches me twice. And she laughed and she's like, oh my God, that had to be my father. And I'm like, what? And so her father had recently passed, but I didn't know that once upon a time he worked for the railroad, just like my grandfather. So her dad was clean and sober and had been a leader in AA for many years. And needless to say, my grandfather was not so clean and sober. He liked to tip a few beers back. So I figured they might have known each other. So the signature familiar trail was connecting the two of us. So her dad was probably visiting her, and then he recognized me, or this family familiar signature up the block, which could be construed as a railroad line, right? So he was doing his job and coming up and making sure that my grandpa and or me was on the job. And we weren't. And I thought that was a really great ghost story. And so I see ghosts as 3D real people, where I know I have other spiritual friends who see the dearly departed in their time of departure, like at death, not so, they don't look so spectacular. And my sister and I were shopping in Stillwater one afternoon, and we saw a ghost sitting on some furniture in an antique shop, and my sister had never seen a ghost before. And she's like, oh my God, that girl, she was real. She looked as real as you and I. And I told her the story about the railroad visitation from my neighbor. And she was fascinated about that. And so we were starting to play what if. And so it's like, what if a number of people that we see are actually ghosts, but we think they're normal human beings? Because don't you hear from people every once in a while, well, I thought I saw Aunt Jane in the crowd or Uncle Bill at the game. Well, maybe Uncle Bill was at the game. Maybe Jane was shopping at the mall. I mean, we don't know. We don't know everything about this life and this realm. It could be very real and true that ghosts are able to manifest themselves and participate somewhat in this 3D realm. So maybe you've seen one that you think is departed, but has showed up. I just thought that's kind of cool that maybe not everybody you see is exactly the human being that we think they are. I think that's kind of weird.